Welcome to the East Bank Sports Show, proudly brought to you by the Fanatical Elves, a member of the Fans First Sports Network. Broadcasting live from the vibrant East Bank of the Flats in Cleveland, Ohio. Join us as we delve into the heart of Cleveland sports. It's your hosts, Noah and Matt.
Welcome back into the East Bank Sports Show, everybody. It is a fantastic Monday here. Matt, buddy, how we doing?
Oh, not bad. It's a beautiful Monday out, like you were saying.
Yeah, I am with you, and we have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. You know, we are getting through the dog days of just having baseball. NBA stuff has been picking up. NFL is about to pick up way sooner rather than later. Real quick, want to give a couple shout-outs. Real quick shout-out to ourselves. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Helps us grow our brand a ton if you are watching on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on Instagram. Make sure you check out all of the Fanatical Elves handles as well. We're on X. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere. We do a little bit of everything for sure. On top of that, make sure you hit the download button if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast. Helps us grow a ton. Helps us out. Helps us, continue to grow the brand of the East Bank Sports Show. Speaking of growing the brand of the East Bank Sports Show, haven't plugged it in a while. We have merch. Got my sticker in today. It is going on the water bottle. Make sure you check that out. It's in the link tree attached to all of our socials, as well as in the bio of the Fanatical Elf store. Matt, let's get into it because it's been a fun week of Cleveland sports. I wanna let our ticker go through the bottom first, but I want to talk about something because I got a graphic to pull up. For those who are listening at home, it's the All-Star graphic. It's all 5 players from the Cleveland Guardians named to the All-Star team. Matt, what are your reactions of not having 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 All-Stars on this Guardians roster?
I mean, best team in the league needs to be one of the best represented down in the All-Star game. It makes sense. I mean, it's logical. It checks out. I think the guys on our team that have played at an All-Star level this year are going to the All-Star game, as they should be.
Yeah, I agree with you. Real quick, I want to show off. You can still hear the audio of this. I pulled these clips from the Guardians X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, account. I want to pull these clips real quick of Naylor and Fry getting announced as All-Star reserves.
First time All-Star, Josh Naylor. And our last but not least, first time All-Star, David Fry.
I love the clips because it makes me feel giddy and happy that we're all happy and excited for our players, right? The meme that went around is that we're going off the vibes and the power of friendship. And I'm just so happy with us getting not 1, not 2, but 5 All-Stars. Matt, do you think anybody on this roster, though, got snubbed?
Honestly, no. I mean, we definitely have a lot more talent on the roster for sure, but I don't think any other players really jump out as all-star snubs. I know this is a little bit off topic, but when you threw that out there in our little chat yesterday about that being a topic, I took it as league-wide. And I'll keep it short and sweet, but I don't think too many people will complain about this one. Francisco Lindor should be an all-star this year. It might be a little bit of my bias, love for him from his time in Cleveland. He's the only top 10 guy in WAR this year to not be going to the all-star game. I mean, he's top 30 in home runs. He doesn't have a great average. He's batting .250 this year. Defensively, he's been really solid, though. He should be going to, and he's not, and I'm mad.
There's 3 guys on this roster that I thought had a shot at being an all-star, and I'm kind of upset that they're not a reserve. That's why I brought this up, right? Number 1, Jimenez. I feel like every year Jimenez should arguably be an all-star just because of how great of a defender he is. Bybee stepping up and being the ace that he's been for us this year. I think he is another one, in my opinion, that could have, made it in his way to the all-star game. And then lastly, Cade Smith has been one of the best relievers in baseball as of late. Not relievers. No, relievers, yes. I don't know why I thought I said closers. He's been one of the better relievers in baseball ever since he was brought in to the main roster over here in Cleveland. And I thought he had, a case to be made of why he should be there too. And I have a tweet that I'm going to pull up with some stats to back my claim. But Matt, what do you think about those three?
I mean, with Himmy, I absolutely agree that, year in, year out, you have a gold glove defender. He's got a fighting shot to go to the All-Star game. He's just not having his best year at the plate, and I think having so many other guys have phenomenal years at the plate in Cleveland, I think that's just kind of, putting the spotlight elsewhere. Not saying he's having a bad year by any means. It's just not, similar to the one that sent him to the All-Star game And then, I mean, BB, yes, he's almost what I consider like, a hometown All-Star. He's absolutely an All-Star to Cleveland fans, but there have been so many dominant starting pitchers this year.
It's true.
That it makes a lot of sense to me. He didn't make it. I would have loved to see him go, absolutely, and I wouldn't have complained at all. And I think he would have belonged there had he been a reservist, but I see why he didn't, and I'm not terribly upset about it. And kind of the same deal for Smith with the relievers. There are a lot of dominant middle inning relievers this year, and guys coming out of the bullpen throwing gas. It's hard. I see the case absolutely for him, but I also see why not.
Yeah, one comparison that I saw on Twitter, X, again, whatever you want to call it today, that stuck out to me was comparing Clay Holmes of, the New York Yankees to Cade Smith. In statistical categories, Clay, and on this list, Clay only leads in 3, and I believe there is 11 total, and Cade leads in the other 8. So, when you look at it, you're thinking about some of that big market favoritism, that kind of thing. That's just me. I think Cade Smith is the only one here that truly probably got snubbed a little bit. I see why Jimenez and Bybee, like you said, didn't make it. It makes sense. I'm going to be like, well, why didn't, Tyler Freeman make it or whatever? Because I want to see the whole Guardians roster there, even though obviously I don't think Tyler Freeman should be on the All-Star roster. One last thing I wanted to talk about Guardians with you real quick was, I love bringing up the tweets and bringing out different perspectives and stuff like that to kind of bring into the conversation, right? This tweet right here is from Corey024 on Twitter. I saw it on my timeline today. His tweet exactly, not exactly a year ago, but a year ago was, "Get David Fry off my baseball team." And then he quote retweets himself and says, "David Fry became an all-star 1 year after this idiot posted this on LMAO. I'm serious." I titled this picture "Relax" because you got to give these people time to develop. You know what I mean? It's just how it is. And I want to shout out to Ryan for pumping back in as he always is. What's up, Tim? How you doing, man? But yeah, Matt, what do you think about that? Seeing that in retrospect, and I was definitely not a David Fry defender last year. But what do you think?
I've always been on the side of, if you're 20, roughly anywhere in the 25 to 7 range, I'll almost always, try to play defense for you and be like, all right, they got time to develop. It's a big jump getting to the bigs, whatever. So I wasn't hating on him. If I had, a $5 free bet or anything, I wouldn't have put it on him to be an all-star. That's for sure.
Right.
I think it's absolutely hilarious that the guy went back and found that a year later, though, and was like, God, this guy's an idiot.
Right. No, I love it 100%. I love it 100%. We're going to cut quick to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and start talking Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll be back after these commercial messages. And we're back with the East Bank Sports Show. Hope you enjoyed those commercials. Again, help us out. Hit the subscribe button. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And let's get back into it, Matt. Matt, we are 1 week in to the NBA free agency. What are you thinking? I know you were a big proponent of DeMar DeRozan. He goes to the Kings over the weekend, the long weekend, the much-needed weekend. What are you thinking in terms of the Cleveland Cavaliers this NBA offseason?
I mean, really, if anybody in here has been, watching for a few weeks now, when the NBA topic has come up, I pretty much have taken one stance and one stance only through that conversation, and it has been to extend Donovan Mitchell. For probably, I don't know, 2 months now. That's been what I've been doing, and I got my wish. I got my wish. I got it. I'm still in a pure, almost euphoric state about it, I mean, we kind of knew it was coming in the last couple of weeks, with it basically coming out that it's said and done, just has to be signed, which is cool and all, but as Cleveland fans, I think everybody was still kind of holding their breath for the official announcement.
Yeah.
As for, further moves I'd like to see, really the one free agent that kind of stood out to me was Pat Bev. I've just always been a fan of his. I think he'd be fun to bring in. I'm not sure exactly how it would fit in, but I think he'd be fun, and it couldn't hurt in my mind. And I've always just been a fan of his. I like him a lot.
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking back and thinking about what we've talked about as trades and things like that. I don't think the answer at this point for the offseason for the Cleveland Cavaliers is free agency. I think free agency, we might be able to get a good role player off the bench like a Pat Beverly or whatever, regardless of the fit and all the other, optics that go into why you should sign or not sign a player. I have, one big glaring need that we've talked about, and that's that 3-and-D forward, right? So in my notes today, I wrote trade for Cam Johnson or Brandon Ingram, two players we and I specifically have talked about on this show for a couple weeks now. And right before we went on air, I was looking through, X as I do, as I bring into this very often, and I found a trade that who knows if it would go through, but I could see it making a fair bit of sense. Brandon Ingram and Cameron Johnson coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a 3-team trade for Karis LeVert and 2 second-round picks going to the Nets, and Jared Allen and Isaac Okoro going to the Pelicans. Now we would have to see what the optics of that look like, because it sounds like it's a more favorable trade in our position, and I'm not going to lie about that. But if somehow we were able to manage to sweep up both of those players and bring them into Cleveland, I would feel really ecstatic about the bench situation we got going on and, who's going to start at the 3 for us next year. I'm really excited to see what they do. I'm of the belief system that they didn't sell Donovan Mitchell on the dream of keeping everything the same completely and running it back with a different coach, and that's going to fix everything. I just can't see that. I think they're just waiting to pull the trigger on the right move. It is of note that, our salary cap situation is not ideal. I think we had like $5, $6, $7 million in salary cap. So talking about bringing in a big guy like DeMar DeRozan, we would have had to trade pieces away, stuff like that. We do something like this, going after some of these players that are potentially on the market, moving away from certain teams, that kind of thing. I think it makes a lot of sense for us to go about it that way, as opposed to sitting here, me and you, hoping that they sign a DeMar DeRozan and that kind of thing. And I alluded to that in the last episode where we talked about this topic. I just wanted to be abundantly clear that now that the dust is settled and there's no one out there really for us to grab that's going to be anything more than a role player on this team, if they're going to go for a sexy move this year, it's going to be in the trade market, obviously, and you could see a lot of pieces getting shifted around here. I don't know how I feel about it, because I am a Jared Allen fan. I think he plays hard. I think he's gotten a lot better as a Cleveland Cavalier, going back to the trade I'm talking about. But we'll see. Again, it's kind of a waiting game. The NBA is a weird, weird monster. And a lot of teams are being very careful about tampering and rules and all of that. That's why you're not seeing trades and signing and trade and signing as much this offseason as you're used to. Matt, anything else NBA-wise, anything based off of that trade? I know I kind of went on a ramble there. What do you think of that trade? You bring in both of those players to Cleveland? Do you think it's possible? Go ahead, man.
I mean, I love the idea. I love the targets there, absolutely. I mean, I feel like everybody we've had on the show has kind of agreed that 3 and D is the biggest need right now. So obviously making a move to attack that, I love. I don't know how realistic, the exact one you threw out there is. I do agree with you in saying that that is a Cleveland favorable trade in a mile. But,
Just
I don't see it's, it wouldn't be a bad starting point. We bring that to the table and work to find a good middle ground. I mean, like you were saying, I don't want to just repeat what you were saying, but I do love Jared Allen. He feels like a core of this Cavs team, and getting rid of him, I'm not sure I'd be a fan of, but you also have to make moves to make the team better, not just keep everybody happy and smiles. So
100%. Moving on. I'm just thinking real quick, anything else NBA wise? Oh, I do want to shout out real quick Matt, I don't know if you saw it, but the post when the Cavs officially announced that Donovan was coming back to Cleveland, the no effing doubt or whatever it was. I love that they just were like, yeah, well, screw the rest of the league. He's our guy, and we knew he was our guy, and he was telling you he was our guy, but none of you guys wanted to believe us. I absolutely love the energy from the front office and Donovan Mitchell. I was watching some of those clips that he was posting from his elite youth camp, which I think is technically what Nike calls it, but it was an Adidas camp. Regardless, and I just love the guy's energy on the court, off the court, surrounding the city, surrounding his brand, his identity. Happy that he is the face of Cleveland basketball for, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I love counting on today's episode for some reason, but I'm here for it. Matt, anything else NBA wise? Are you ready to move on? Because we haven't got a chance to talk NFL in a while. First, real quick, want to shout out as well as we're in these transitions. Wednesday, 9 p.m., East Bank Sports Show at the office. We're going to be talking college mascots. We're going to be talking college video games. We're going to be talking a lot of fun NCAA football 25 based topics because your boy is very excited for that game to come out. And therefore, I'm making the old heads reminisce and talk about their favorite old video games and their favorite mascots and stuff. I'm being all nostalgic with, the mascot mayhem mode or whatever the hell it was called when, NCAA was out last time. Fortunately, not in the game this time, but really, really excited for that topic. Tim, I am as excited as you can be, as you're saying as well. Yes, NCAA 25 cannot come quick enough. I'm playing on PlayStation 5 when it comes out. Going to be repping my Worcester Scots when Lake, who's been a guest on the show a couple times here, uploads all of those fantastic team builder ideas. Hopefully put myself in the MAC and let us grow a D3 football program to a Division I powerhouse. But I rest my case. Let's get into the Cleveland Browns. To wrap up today's episode, really, I would love to talk about, what are 2 things you are looking for in this Browns training camp? I was thinking about some of my expectations, some of my thoughts. I put Mary Kay Cabot's tweet notifications on during this time of year to see, all the video clips of what's going on with all the different position groups. Matt, I want you to go with your first thing you are looking for during Browns training camp this year.
I mean, the first one, and I don't even I toyed with not even putting it on there, but I feel like it would be wrong for neither of us to bring it up. I didn't check what you listed, but I mean, obviously I'm looking at Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb. Looking at how they're doing, how they're feeling, what they're doing. I mean, those are 2 of the most important players to this team that have question marks over them. Obviously, I think all Cleveland football eyes are on them coming into this preseason.
Those are your 2, both of them, Chubb and Deshaun Watson, or that's just your first one?
I just kind of have that grouped into one is the guys coming off major injuries. How are they going to bounce back?
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I went the right way with it. So I figured, you were gonna say Deshaun Watson or Nick Chubb. So I moved away from those two, right? And the number one thing I want to look for is who is going to be the offensive line starters for this Cleveland Browns roster. Now, typically you have your left tackle to right tackle of Jedrick Wills, Joe Bitonio, Posick, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin. Now you have a big Thanos in the picture, and he was playing fantastic tackle before he got hurt last season. So, and I personally would rather see him start at this point with my Ohio State homer background as well. Big Thanos is probably my favorite O-lineman other than my boy Wyatt Teller. I'm really curious to see who's going to be starting in this O-line room, what they're going to do in terms of moving pieces around. Is Jedrick Wills going to start? I feel like some people want to see, Jack Conklin move to left tackle, let Jedrick Wills sit and burn his last year. There's a lot of discourse there. What do you think about that, Matt?
So hear me out, right? I know this is kind of a crazy idea I have brewing. That's also one of the things that I had listed down. It was my third, actually, is who are our starting tackles going to be. I think if Dwan Jones isn't a starter, that's a crime. The way he played last year, if he's healthy, ready to go, he has to be one of the two tackles on the field. And call me crazy, but I think Jed is our other starter. And the only reason I say that is because now obviously all three of them are coming off injuries, but Jack Conklin is the most injury prone, but he's also more of a utility knife than the other two. So when another guy on our O-line goes down, we have a slightly older Jack Conklin that's not beat up to step in, take the role. And I would feel comfortable with him sliding to either guard spot if need be. And it would keep him healthy in reserve almost and be able to teach our young tackles how to be elite because they both can be. They just have to learn. I know that's kind of like a crazy, wild idea, but
I don't disagree with you though, Matt, in that aspect. I think Jedrick Wills gets a lot of hate, and if you listen to some of our earlier, more not as entertaining, I would like to say, episodes from when the Browns were still in season, I was never a Jedrick Wills defender. There was a lot of things that would piss me off about him. But when you're talking about left tackle, which is such a volatile position in the NFL, it's hard to not take even mediocre. And he's like middle of the pack when it comes to left tackle, right? He's like ranked 13th to 18th. And that's what he is, and that's what he's been since we drafted him. And is it been fantastic the whole time? No, there's effort questions. He's not the best run blocker. He's good at pass blocking for the most part. But when you're going up against the Myles Garretts of the world and you're not bottom half of the league a majority of the time, it's kind of hard to argue what are you going to get better without paying an arm and a leg to get it or having a top pick in the NFL draft to then get it, right, Matt? So I don't disagree with you, especially if you're looking at a extended plan. The only issue with that too, though, now that I'm sitting here thinking and stewing, I'm pretty sure Jack Conklin has like 2 or 3 years on his contract still, which makes it interesting because I know they're paying him like $15 million, and that's a lot of money for a backup tackle in the NFL. Now, again, don't know what the dead cap or cutting him would look like, but I don't hate your thought on that. Go ahead with your next pick, though. I want to hear what else you are looking for when these tweets, these videos, these clips come out of Greenbrier when the Browns go down there.
So I wanted to, keep it with a kind of crazy thought process. And I'm not saying I think this is going to happen, but, for anybody that doesn't know that's watching, I'm a washed up former receiver. So obviously I tend to watch the receivers a little more. And obviously Amari Cooper is one of the best in the league. But this is the first opportunity in my mind Jerry Jeudy's ever really had in a solid, put together offense. And I've loved Jerry Jeudy since his first years in college. Like, I've always thought he was going to be one of the better receivers. I wouldn't be shocked if, during the preseason, there's a little bit of rumble from the fans of who really is the more talented receiver on our roster. I'm going to be looking at Jerry Jeudy to see what he gives us.
So that was also my number 2. So I'm trying to think of something else just to bring to the discourse. But first, I will agree with you that I'm very excited to see, what does Jerry Jeudy look like in a new offense, fresh start in the NFL? That's word for word, bar for bar, probably my number one thing I'm looking at, aside from your obvious is the Deshaun Watsons, that kind of thing. You know what I'm looking forward to? This is a low-key one. I went from one idea in my head, just switched to another. We brought back a kicker with some experience in the orange and brown, for lack of a better way to explain it. Cade York is going to be our practice squad kicker probably for most of the year. And if something happens to D-Hop, the real D-Hop, Dustin Hopkins, he's probably going to be taking some kicks for us at some point this season. And I know it's like, when does a kicker injury happen? Well, with Dustin Hopkins, as Lake has said in some of our earlier episodes, more often than you think. So with that being said, I'm curious to see what Cade York looks like now that he's gone through the ringer of the NFL a little bit. He's a little bit knocked off his high horse of being a third-round pick. I've met the guy before briefly at Browns training camp. He signed a helmet for me. He seems like a nice guy, so I'm not trying to knock him down or say he has an ego. I don't think any of that. But, the humbling moment still happens to the most humble people. You put on this pedestal of being a kicking god, and then, you get knocked down a peg or two, and that may, fix some of his yips and might end up being our kicking answer, as Dustin Hopkins is older and has some injury issues, as great as he was last season. What do you think about Cade York as an answer, Matt?
You want to know what I think about that?
What?
I completely forgot we brought him back.
So I was going to say my other one I was going to bring up real quick, and then we could talk about both of them since we have some extra time here at the end of the episode. My other thought was going to be what the linebacking core looks like going into this year, because there was some question marks there, but we'll talk about that next. Go ahead with Cade York.
I was, reacting because the linebacker core was going to be my next, unprepared one, because I am interested to see what happens there. I think this is hilarious. We have the same list. We wrote down almost the same things here.
Part of the problem, when we talk sports is we do have a lot of similar opinions. So we overlap sometimes. That's sometimes when we do this, for those who are listening live and those who are tuning in, audio wise, I'll have him, or, if we have a third host on or whatever, send me in what we're talking about. So we all have different stuff to talk about. Didn't do it this time because, why not? It's early. We're in the dog days. Linebacker wise, what are you thinking though?
I mean, we saw some linebackers give us some flashes and then get hurt. I mean, the typical Cleveland Browns football story of last season, had some linebackers play really well and then get hurt. We lost Taki, so I'm kind of interested to see how that shuffles out, and I'm blanking on the name we brought in.
Yes, I am too. I will pull it up real quick, but continue on.
I mean, it's one of those, I've always been a firm believer that, the linebackers are the backbone of your defense, and I don't think many people really disagree with that. Your captain of the defense is in the linebacker unit, and they play a part in both the pass and the run, so they're always having an impact on the game.
Jordan Hicks, I was going to say it, but I wanted to double check myself. Jordan Hicks, who could end up being a very sneaky fine addition, like some of the Anthony Walkers and such of the world from years past has been. Continue on, Matt.
But I mean, it's so hard to play defense in the NFL, and we did it so well last season. And I'm nervous that we won't be able to, produce the same product, put the same defense out there. And I think it really starts with the linebacker core. So, I mean, obviously I'll be paying a lot of attention to that to see, are they going to be able to hold the defense to the high standard of last year again, or is it going to take a little bit of a dip?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I am with you 100%. I'm really excited to see, the development of JOK as well. That is another big part of this. I'm just really excited to see how this whole linebacking core gels. I know we focus heavy on, our secondary, who has been flat out fantastic with some of the draft picks we've had over the years, as well as obviously the D-line solely because of Myles Garrett. And then, you add all the other pieces that we have added in there throughout the years and stuff. And you get really excited. Zadarius Smith, Tomlinson, you go back to Jadeveon Clowney and years past, all these names that were supposed to be the number twos to Myles and have done good things and haven't done good things with Myles. But I am really excited to see what comes out of training camp. I'm really excited to go to training camp. Very limited dates this year. We touched base on that on the last episode or two ago. I can't remember, of the reason being they're doing so much construction to update and renovate that Berea office. Matt, anything else you want to touch base on Cleveland Browns wise before we go into final thoughts and takes? We will go into final thoughts and takes then. Ladies and gentlemen, he shook his head no for those who are like, why is he just talking all the way over Matt? Final thoughts and takes. Matt, go ahead with your final thought and take.
Noah, I need you to enjoy your time while it lasts, because this has got to be the best month and a half of Bo Naylor's baseball career, and it's not going to continue. So soak it in while it lasts, but come out of the All-Star break, it's back to last year's Bo.
I think this is funny because I have something to show you right now.
Today they're 2 for 6. Men in scoring position. The pitch. Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right. There she goes. A pinch hit.
Matt is left, and that's okay. He can be salty because Bo Naylor, I got crap from him and Devin 2 episodes ago for saying that I thought he'd get to 220, 250, somewhere in that range with his batting average. Oh, welcome back, Matt. I want to remind everyone as well that this dude was a Myles Straw stan to start the season. So he's coming at Bo Naylor now that he's playing fantastic baseball, not only framing and catching, but hitting the ball as well. He is hitting .311 in the last month and a half of baseball. You owe that man some respect, and that 3-run homer to win us the game yesterday, to win the series against the Giants, you owe that hit some respect too. Matt, thank you for another great episode. Anything else you want to touch on before I go to the outro?
I think you got it, man.
Okay, good. I'm going to let you sit over there with Myles Straw, and I'll be over here with Bo Naylor being excited because he's actually on the roster and not wasting away in Columbus. Thank you guys for tuning in to the East Bank Sports Show. It's been another great episode. It's been fun hanging out with everybody in the chat. Tim, everybody that always comes in and talks, as well as everybody that listens, shoots me some texts after. I always appreciate any of the extra support. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube at the East Bank Sports Show. Helps us grow the brand a ton. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at the East Bank Sports Show. Make sure you check out the Fanatical Elves at Elves Network, Fanatical Elves, whatever you can find them under. We are there live currently, as well as on the Fans First Sports Network, who gives us the right to do everything that we do here at the East Bank Sports Show. Make sure you check out everybody's podcast over at the Fanatical Elves. Got a lot of great content. Sam, John, Lou, Jarrell. We got a bunch of great guys over there. But Matt, Cleveland, until next time, have a great week. And I'll see you on Wednesday.